When you first really get going with Photoshop, it really becomes a crazy avenue for you to explore the inner weirdness of your imagination, and that's understandable. Exploring the program and letting your inner wacky side out and making the impossible possible with this program is one of the easiest ways to learn it. One of the things that's really difficult to learn if you're self-teaching is the importance of color. If you don't consider color, you're going to end up with a really well designed or really interesting looking picture that ends up looking terrible when it ends up in its final place. Ultimately, you need to consider where the file is going and how it's going to be used to make sure that it's designed correctly. And what I'm going to show you in Photoshop today is just how important color tends to be. Here we have a picture of a lovely rainbow gradient. And right now, if I come to mode, it's in RGB color. It could be in CMYK, but it's not. Let's say that this picture is going to be shown on a projector. It's already in RGB, so I don't have anything else to worry about because RGB is the color mode that a projector works in. But what if I was going to send this rainbow to print? Well, then it would be in CMYK. And I tell you right now, it is not going to look like this when you try to print it on a piece of paper. But how could we even come close to figuring out what this thing would actually look like if I try to print it? We're going to come up to the View menu, and here under Proof Setup, we can set it up so that we can see it in several different ways. We can see it now, if we want, as working CMYK. We could see it as just a plate of cyan or magenta or yellow or black. We have a whole bunch of different stuff. We can even accommodate for color blindness. Once we have it set up how we're going to proof it, we simply select Proof Colors. And you can see that this looks terrible. This looks absolutely terrible. And if I switch back and forth, you can see more rapidly exactly how different it looks. This is in RGB, and this is in CMYK. When you're working in CMYK, colors tend to look a little bit duller. That is because it is a additive color system in which colors are combined to make every other color in the spectrum, but the thing that's missing is white, which is assumed that it's going to be coming from the paper that you're printed on. When you're printing in CMYK, then the colors look a little bit darker because going onto white paper tends to lighten it a little bit. When you're working in RGB, you're already working with the properties of light, so I'm going to switch it back to RGB, and this is what it would look like in RGB. The differences can be subtle, but the next time you try to make something in Photoshop, come up to the View menu, make sure your proof setup's to CMYK, and then proof your colors, and that'll give you sort of an idea of what it's going to look like when it prints. And the differences may startle you.